Previously on Too Many Tapes. Getting into it, I rarely talk about the pre-roll commercials, but there's some real nightmares to be found here. I may have to track down this awful video where the clowns teach you morals. Clowns! Glorious clowns! Wonderful clowns! Who doesn't love clowns? Everybody, right? Nobody loves clowns? Not even clowns love clowns. In a poll taken in 2016, more people said they were afraid of clowns than they were of climate change. Maybe we should re-poll that one. That being said, that was also at the height of that creepy clown sighting phenomenon in 2016. Simpler times. Anyway, all of this to say, eBay is a hell of a drug. Because for 14 American dollars, I can make my clown nightmares a reality. I can finally journey to Clown Town. And what I found there was amateurish evangelical clown terror wrapped inside a nesting, unfocused narrative that feels like you're having a particularly bland nightmare described to you by your most oversharing friend. It's me, isn't it? I'm the oversharing friend. That's the only compulsion that leads to someone starting a YouTube channel like this. Agapeland, the collective of weirdly proficient and imaginative weirdos who brought us Nathaniel the Grublet, as well as this semi-psychedelic journey into a Lynchian non-space, have a particular skill set that translates throughout their projects. Every one of their films/albums/adaptations of albums into films are weirdly compelling on a song front, but totally narratively inert, replacing story with strange stylistic flights of fancy. Now, this isn't the first Agape-produced clown video. In 1982, they attempted to adapt these characters in a VHS entitled Gingerbrook Fair for Word Records, which was one of the biggest names in Christian music publishing and home entertainment at the time. It had a much, much larger budget, but it also had this alarmingly aggressive didacticism that makes my teeth itch. But with the launch of their own video label, Agapeland Home Video, they were free to take another whack at this whole school for clowns concept. Only this time, they didn't have any money, so the whole thing was shot on a shoestring. Where Nathaniel the Grublet was shockingly technically sound and impressively film-like, Red Nose Express is exactly the opposite. It's a deep dive into all of the worst tendencies of overproduced and underconceived 80s home video projects, filled with nearly bare sound stages and backrooms like it's Dogville but with clowns, sloppy location work that looks like it was shot without permission or permits, and the kind of dead air that comes from a group of performers stretching desperately for time. The purpose of Red Nose Express is deceptively simple. It wants to teach children, and I quote from the old back of the boxy, the value of making choices with the right motives. And it does what it says on the box, but in a way that is simultaneously airy and convoluted, confusing and condescending. It's yet another moralistic mixed bag. We begin, as all good stories begin, in media res at a train station. A group of truly upsetting clowns board what appears to be a miniature railway that actually functions as some sort of transportation infrastructure, as we're carried from the Disneyland-esque station directly to a TV studio. The clowns all prattle on about the fact that they're about to be on TV. We cut to the barest-looking, Between Two Ferns-esque TV set that feels like it was designed to be part of some sort of broadcast facility nestled inside of a doomsday bunker, and the clowns descend upon that beige void, adding at least a little bit of color. As the cameras roll in and everyone settles, we see that there are 2 credited writers for quote-unquote screenplay revisions, which means that this thing had a second draft. Given what's in store, I can only imagine the first draft was written by a startled cat running across a typewriter. The clown group are being interviewed by Uncle Henry. If you know your weird evangelical history like I do, you'll know that this guy, Henry Harrison, was basically Joe Don Baker's Ed McMahon. That is a very old-fashioned sentence. He was the Andy Richter to Don Baker's Conan. Do late-night hosts have sidekicks anymore? Do we care? And if you don't know who Joe Don Baker is, just watch The Righteous Gemstones and you'll get the shape of it, honestly. Mick introduces his clowns, and I'll admit, Uncle Henry has one heck of a voice in that game show announcer sort of way.
Thank you, everybody. Welcome now to Spotlight.
So we've got Mick, the leader of the bunch, Peaches, who has a whole Southern Belle thing going for her, the incredible Neon, who looks like a clown version of Robin Williams during his Mork and Mindy years, Bubblegum, who is a cute little hand puppet named Rapper, and Matthew, who is snack-obsessed and a little bit spacey. It seems like they just kind of threw these characters at Uncle Henry without a lot of prep and had him improvise, because his reactions don't seem rehearsed so much as they seem like the kind of ping-ponging connections an old talk show host makes when he's trying to come up with some witty repartee. But we don't get any sort of reason or setup for why they're here, because immediately after we introduce our characters, we get this title card.
Meanwhile, in another part of the city...
Meanwhile, in a generic hallway behind the soundstage that we're literally just filming in, we get some silly 80s references rolled up with 60s and 40s jokes. You know, for kids.
Paging Dr. E.T. Dr. E.T. Phone home. Good morning, Otto. What have you got for me today?
Oh, Dr. Kuchenheimer, we found him in the park talking to himself, banging his head on a tree and breaking out into strange laughter.
We've got Otto and Dr. Kuchenheimer, who are doing bad Peter Lorre and Peter Sellers' Strangelove impressions, respectively. I say the impressions are bad, they are, extremely, but I respect the commitment to the bit. We see our patient in this padded room/dance studio, a man with a painted-on mustache and a dime store magician costume.
Otto, get tranquilizer number 4.
And we can already tell this isn't going to be terribly sensitive to the mentally ill.
I want a red nose! I want it! I want it! I want it!
This man, well, he wants a red nose, and he's gonna tell you why. So we flash back to the land of infinite sound stages where everything is constructed out of cardboard like a cheap dark ride at an aging amusement park. But wait, this is a flashback happening in the midst of a meanwhile, which means we've removed ourselves so completely from the initial story that it no longer feels relevant. Why not start with the guy in the hospital going bananas, seeing the clowns on TV or something, and then flashing back? Here I go again, arguing story structure with a forgotten VHS tape that's older than I am. I live a charmed and fulfilled life. Anyway, we open on a fun little musical number with the young clowns, and honestly, this is where these Agapeland shows shine. The songs are respectable, entertaining, surprisingly dense, and the choreography isn't half bad either. I guess that's the upside of not having to teach it to kids, or, not having kids in your show at all. Just grown-ups wearing makeup and acting like kids. Totally normal, totally normal.
Quite a day, I'm gonna be on my way. Below the mood I'm in, below my silly grin. It's gonna be quite a day.
Is it inane? Yes. Annoying? A little. Generic, without a doubt. But it's also extremely catchy and a total earworm. This functions as a bit of an I want song for our clowns. They're all hoping to be accepted into mixed prestigious clown school, and they all want to prove to the world they have what it takes to be big-time clowns. But first they have to make it through Mick, who sounds like if Gavin from Kids in the Hall grew up to become a clown.
Ah, yes, what have we here? The new applicants.
Yeah, we're the new recruits. We're looking for Mick.
Yeah.
Well, that's me.
Okay, then instead, who do you think would win a fight between a dog and a monkey?
Monkey.
Yeah, I'll say.
The novice clowns mob Mick, but he shoos them away to give his big speech. Neon seems to be a bit of a suck-up, but Mick handles him with a sort of sarcastic passive aggression that makes me want to talk to my therapist.
Well, can you handle a really tough assignment?
You can count on me.
Take a seat.
Right.
You see, Mick's only accepting 4 students this year, and even though there's only 4 applicants, they all still have to audition. Mick doesn't take any old riffraff off the street. You gotta have what it takes to wear the red nose.
The red nose! And it is known throughout the land that the red nose earned at my school supersedes all other noses. Wow!
Before we can get started, though, we need to introduce a character from an older version of Gingerbrook Fair who otherwise has no reason to be here, other than the fact that she's part of the lore. The lore! This thing has lore for days! Miss Missy has a red nose, but she looks like some sort of proto-Grandma Simpson character? Real people shouldn't be that yellow. She looks like she has liver problems. Jaundiced. The recruits follow Missy into the school, and we flash back to the present. The magician weirdo has a binky now. He didn't need psychiatric help, he was just coming down from the E. I just realized, though, he wasn't present for any of that part of the story. How is he the one recounting it? Also, why is he the one recounting it? Why do we care about any of this? Just show him lurking in the background of one of the shots. That's literally all you need. And we flash back yet again. It occurs to me, this guy has big Mark McKinney energy. We're creating a ramshackle 80s knockoff evangelical Kids in the Hall. Are there any Christian sketch comedy shows? I feel like that would be truly horrifying. I don't know if I want that question answered. Magician Man is dressed in a rainbow wig and Groucho glasses, and he's calling himself Stinker the Clown. I'm getting real Risky Rat vibes from him already. That's a common liturgical thread that ties a bunch of these old Christian shows together. The bad guy is frequently disguised as someone who seems nice but is out of step with the moral or the value the show is trying to preach. Then, when the big second act turning point happens, their deception is revealed and they twirl their mustache with evil glee. It's a Satan thing. It's always a Satan thing. The problem is, the guy they have playing their Satan stand-in is the most entertaining performer of the bunch, so they're having to really work against themselves to make their point land with any force.
Allow me to introduce myself.
Well,
Stinker the Clown. You can write it down right there.
All right.
S-T-O-N-K-E-R.
S-T-I-N-K-A-R. Stinker. I'll have a seat with the other applicants.
Stinker joins the applicants, raising the number to 5, with only 4 open slots. He's raised the stakes, he's added dramatic tension. Stinker may be our hero, saving us from the monotony of watching 4 sure-thing clowns get into 4 open slots in a clown school. Mick opens the audition process by telling his hopefuls that they're here for the wrong reasons, getting some real clown-based Whiplash vibes out of this guy. Nobody steal that idea, I want to write that screenplay, Whiplash for clowns. Anyway, Mick is trying to teach the applicants about motive, and because this is an evangelical tape, the motive of any action needs to be for the glorification of God. Seems like you could do that without being a clown, but everybody's gotta eat, I guess. This leads to, obviously, a musical number about motive.
Why do I do the things I do, and who do I do them for?
Why do I do the things I do?
Who do I do them for? Do I do the things I do for me?
Or do them for the Lord?
Each of these kids has a bad motive, the wrong motive even. Peaches wants to be famous, Neon wants to be the best clown in the world, Bubblegum wants to be interesting, and Matthew wants to be rich, to buy a bunch of food, of course. All of them have selfish motivations. What I do like about this is that Stinker is just kind of lurking in the background, not participating in the number. Nobody notices this, seeing as they're so wrapped up in their song and dance. We also get a pretty troubling dichotomy set up by Mick in the song here.
Clowns were made like people to give themselves away.
So, the clowns aren't people? This is just a sub-race of naturally occurring clowns. If God made us all in his own image, whose image did he make the clowns in? The hopefuls vow to be less selfish, Stinker bullies Bubblegum about her auditions, and Missy drags him away by the ear. Later on, Rapper is missing. Bubblegum is distraught. The prospective clowns all band together to find Rapper and go on a time-filling search through the cheapest locations they could possibly find. I'm not entirely convinced they got permits to shoot in any of these places. They just dragged a video camera into theme parks, gift shops, and convenience stores, and subjected poor minimum-wage employees to the childlike lamentations of adults dressed as clowns. We flash forward yet again to the magician/Stinker detailing the story. They've done the comedy therapy setup where the therapist is now on the couch and the patient is pacing. This is the only part of the show that works for me. I'm invested in Dr. Kuchenheimer. Where's his show?
And that is how you treated the others.
Like they were my own sisters and brothers.
Disturbed family life.
Flashing back one more time, and it's time for auditions. The setup is simple. Stinker wants to cut to the front of the line, but it's not his turn. Furious, he secretly sabotages each of the other clowns' auditions. Let's be frank, these auditions are bad. Even without the interruptions and sabotage, these kids aren't gonna make it in the world of clowning. They aren't taking the mistakes and making them into comedy. They can't pratfall well. There's no joy, no buoyancy. None of the things that make clowns clowns. But they do have camaraderie. And maybe that counts for something. Finally, it's Stinker's turn. He gets a song and he juggles. Even if he hadn't undercut literally every other applicant, he would be a shoo-in.
My act is so spectacular, there aren't verbs in my vernacular to describe to you my grace and expertise. As I enter center stage, all eyes on me engage, I juggle 18 batons with ease.
This is actually great. He's a ham and cheese and he thinks he's better than everybody else, but dang, he is. Obviously he doesn't get in, the nice kids get in, and with every name called, Stinker breaks more and more from reality. It's rough to watch. Finally, it's down to Stinker and Bubblegum, and the other applicants are throwing themselves under the bus and offering up their spots to make sure she gets in. But it's unnecessary. Mick doesn't just judge skill, he judges motive and what's in their heart. Something good works alone, something kingdom of something. Stinker's not in. He's too selfish. The breakdown grows in intensity, and then the pièce de résistance is revealed with his magician cloak and the missing rapper. Stinker's identity is revealed to be Conniver von Villain.
Conniver von Villain.
Conniver von Villain?
Horses, feathers.
The entire cast reacts like this is the biggest twist in the history of fiction, but it mostly goes down like the Khan reveal in Star Trek Into Darkness. If you have no idea who Conniver is, this makes no sense. Who cares?
My name is Khan.
I think I'm gonna faint.
Okay, the puppet fainting gag got me. A+ puppet gag. Von Villain tries to put on an evil face, but you can tell he's crushed. He just wanted to be good enough, to have the red nose, to have that validation. He can't help that he's evil. back to the doctors, and they're treating him by forcing him to watch the evidence of his own failure on television, to see the clowns interviewed live on air and perform their big closing number. This is a tragedy. What's more of a tragedy, though, is Uncle Henry trying to vamp his way through lines he's half memorized while trying to sound spontaneous.
Well, you know, I believe we have just about time for that number that you promised us. The rest of the clowns have already gone over to the set. How about joining them and let's see what you have for us.
Otto and Kuchenheimer restrain Von Willen while he's subjected to a song that describes the torment he's going through, performed by the people who have caused his torment.
I wanna earn my red nose, I've gotta have a red nose, I wanna be a full-fledged clown. I wanna earn my red nose, if I can get a red nose, they'll fancy me for miles around.
And we get the credits over this song. It's over? I'm not convinced there was actually a show here. We never got out of the meanwhile in another part of the city. That meanwhile was the entire story. And maybe that's how this whole thing got fouled up. By not centering the applicants, by making the villain be the one who frames the story, we're much more sympathetic to him, even if his motives are less than pure. As a companion piece to Nathaniel the Grublet, this pokes yet another hole in the overall Agapeland project. They both have the same fundamental problem. For stories that are supposed to be about modeling and shaping moral values, they seem to find more joy in crafting these mustache-twirling villains who end up taking all the energy away from the one-note heroes. And by virtue of that, it flattens those heroes and makes the villains seem more enticing by comparison. I think what I'm trying to say here is, Conniver did nothing wrong, hashtag justice for Stinker. Thank you all for watching Too Many Tapes. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the bell icon to get updates for when I upload new videos. Are you a clown? Was I too mean to clowns? Let me know in the comments. If you want to help out a small YouTube creator, consider donating $1 or more to my Patreon. Every penny of this project goes towards either buying equipment or tapes to be covered, so I appreciate your direct support. My $50 a month patrons get some extra attention here at the top of the block. You get the honor of not being clowns. Spoiler alert, all the other tiers are clowns. Cammy, thank you for your continued support, and one of these days I'm gonna have to take your suggestion and do some kind of stream. I have some weird old PC games from the 90s and early aughts, and you wanna see that? And Chase, you were there basically from the beginning of this channel, and you're like 90% of the reason I could afford to buy the green screen and make payments on my camera while I was still paying it off, so I appreciate your support as well. If you donate $20 or more a month, you're Conniver von Willen, you did absolutely nothing wrong, and you get to have your credits in an enormous font like NATO Kitsch. For $10 or more a month, you're now burdened with the knowledge that professional clowns will paint their faces onto eggs as a means of copywriting the designs. And your name gets to be pretty big in the credits too. And for $5 a month, you receive an honorary red nose. Not as prestigious as a real red nose from Mick's Junior Clown School, but hey, you get early access to my videos, so that's something, right? Thank you all again for watching, and I'll see you next time on Too Many Tapes. Nobody notices this.